Hey, everybody, welcome to the most important person in the room. This is our last episode of 2025. And so we thought what we would do, since we just finished with the life of Joseph, or at least our take on his life. And we've also, I think, just had some cool stuff happen this year. So we're going to do a little Merry Christmas episode here. I kind of anticipate what the Lord's going to be doing maybe the next year, but also celebrate a little bit of the gifts that have happened. And so what's cool is I think that the scripture gives us kind of a runway to interact with the Lord, with each other. And so it's this road we all have to kind of travel on to be able to see what he's doing. It's a kind of a lot of really cool metaphors for the way it works. But I think that idea of us moving forward, but also of God moving towards us, and this pathway of scripture is a really good one. So as you guys think about last few months, this kind of the beginning of this ministry year, starting school, what we've been through a little bit in the scripture, what we've been learning as a community, what are some highlights for you? What do you see God doing? And it can be stuff from the series that we've just done, but just big picture, Pleasant Valley. We're the pastors here. We're missing Carl and Sammy today. Just praying for them, Sammy's family, just kind of walking through some loss with some extended family members, and also Carl and Paige welcoming a new baby. And so they have their hands full, both of them. So they're off today. But as we think about these things as those who are kind of here as shepherds, what do you guys have on your hearts? I'm going to pick somebody first. Daniel.
Okay. Well, yeah, just thinking back, one of the things I was thinking about, I just thought about a few different moments. Like one of them was having Paul Oman come and paint those Grace Anchor.
That's right.
Paintings.
Did we do that this year?
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
crazy.
What was what do you remember the first month? I forget.
I'm not sure.
But it is recent. You're right.
I think he came twice this year. They both happened this year. I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's just a deepening of like identity in both. There's kind of the general identity of, who we are in Christ, but then also a more unique and specific identity for who Jesus is calling us as a church to be. And it feels like, as I thought back in this about 2025, it just felt like a continued deepening of Jesus reinforcing who we are to be in Him, and both in the kind of universal big C church, like who are we supposed to be as the church, followers of Jesus in general, but also like our unique place as Pleasant Valley Church and in our communities and in the places we're connected to around the world, the kind of people that we are to be. And so I just felt like we sort of put that in ink, or like in paint in a new way. We did. So that was cool. And the other thing I thought about too, and this is like sort of tangential, but I felt like it was connected, is we welcomed a lot of new babies this year. And
yes.
And just tons of friends had new additions in their families. But also, like, I think church-wide, we've seen a lot of new faces and people who are all over the map with just, they're maybe seeking, or they've got questions, or they've been following Jesus for a long time. But in any case, just again, there's something that changes with every addition. And I think the way that the scripture talks about that is that we are better because of one another. And so you just feel God graciously both giving us kind of these grace anchors that are kind of our values. Like this is who we want to, or this is what we focus on about Jesus and what we want to live out of these realities of who Jesus is. But then also just like the reality of the people who are a part of
Mhm.
our church family. And so those are the things I was thinking about as I was thinking
Yeah.
about this last year. I was just like, man, that's really cool. Just
Yeah.
the identity stuff. And so
I want to comment on the Grace Anchors ones because it was fun this past Sunday. I was standing in the living room just waiting, talking to different people, and I saw someone who obviously had a guest with them, and they were just, and I just saw somebody like kind of this, and this. I was like, yes, there we go. That's what's supposed to happen, is that these visual, living theology kind of on the wall. And so that's really cool. I also, I don't know if I thought about it, but sometimes God gives us outward things that are happening to signify inward things, that, and so just with the little ones coming, and even new families, like new faces, like kind of connects to the deeper newness that's happening in our body. Of there's growth, like there people are growing, and fruit is coming, and so it's pretty cool. How about you, Joshua?
Yeah, some of the things I reflect on from this year as PV. One, I mean, just the introduction of some new missionaries. For us, getting to know Pastor Marlik and Aveka, going to visit there at the beginning of the year. Now at the end of the year, they came, visited us. We got some new fun missionaries from France, and I am forgetting their names. But we got to meet them earlier this year.
Yes. It's Berlin Burns' daughter, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and her husband.
Yep.
Ah,
He's
yes.
a pastor. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
John and
super
Jill's
fun.
daughter. Yeah, and then and he's a pastor there. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, we're forgetting your names. If you're listening,
If you're listening from France.
Yeah. I remember I tried to say a French city in front of him that we went to, and he was like, he kind of made this face like, no. So just add that to the list, that we forgot your name too.
Yeah. But then just moving forward now, some of the things I think I've said almost on every episode for the last several episodes is to take, I guess, a wording from this Sunday is just learning to figure out what it means to go into the new Egypt, into our Egypt, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's just something that really excites me because it's for certain a growth edge, and I just love seeing us learning and humbly trying to follow Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to comment on that, I had a meeting with somebody, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, and it was cool. They were just their take on what God's been doing in our midst with just new efforts to go and to be out in our community and to think about people that are in the margins. I just love this. I was like, I have not said this, but this was what the Spirit was teaching them. They said, I think we're just really learning to love. We're learning what real love is. And I was like, okay, that sounds right. That sounds good. Yeah, I like that. Where would you guys say, from a personal standpoint, you have heard the Lord? Because we've got the bigger things we're seeing at church, but where have you heard him say, now for you, this is an area that this kind of that Jamie Winship thing, we stole that question. Or John Eldridge said this, like Jamie Winship said, what do I not know? I learned to ask that question in a difficult situation. What don't I know? But with John Eldridge, I learned in the Pause app, going through that so many times, is to ask, where are we working today, Lord? And so, like, from my own heart. So as you guys think about your own stuff, what would you say the last year, some places where he's been like, all right, this for you? Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, if I'm looking at me specifically, where is the Lord working and trying to get my attention? I really think that is just learning the rhythm of the Sabbath and learning to protect space. Just like as a natural tendency, this runs down on my dad's side. Like, we just love to work, and the second that we get a chance to go do something, we're just going to go do it without thinking about what the consequences means for both your family, but even just your personal restful energy. And So the way of like the Sabbath is just immediately out the door.
Yeah.
At a second.
Can I ask a question about that? How has the Lord been, like, what have you been reading and listening to like gain understanding? Because I'll say I'm pretty green on Sabbath stuff, so I'd love to learn a little bit from you.
Yeah, I haven't at the beginning of the year. I read a few things, and honestly, I couldn't tell you anymore what it was that I was reading.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Yeah, yeah, and then honestly, it was mid year when I started doing way too much campground stuff that it really like since then it's really just been marinating back and forth because it's not just like the campground stuff, but that is just my natural tendency for anything, and so like the Lord has just been like very patiently and slowly helping me marinate, I guess, or think through my natural defaults and how can we move forward. As far as theological look up, figuring out how to, I haven't really been doing a lot of that. It's just more.
The Spirit's been teaching you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just been on you. Daniel, you know what I'm thinking about? Is our Israel trip. Do you remember when we were at that one resort and that happened to be on Shabbat? Yep. Talk about that. What did we see? What were people doing?
Yeah, one of the coolest things was like how for, you know, in Israel, obviously it's like just culturally just expected that everybody on Friday at sundown, it's Sabbath mode for everybody. And it looks a lot like families are just spending time together. Everything gets really simple. You kind of drop your like what was normal life, you know, and normal expected effort or whatever, all of that kind of goes away and the expectations radically change. And then everybody, you know, we just saw families just spending time together, and they were hanging out, and it was like multi-generational, you know, grandmas and grandpas and little ones. And it was really beautiful.
It really was. I was jealous of the way they were practicing Shabbat. And it didn't feel legalistic. It didn't feel, oh, you're going to be spiritual. It was, man, the way they're with each other. It's such a rhythm in their life that I don't know, like it's like just the things get turned off and they're just sitting and they're with each other. I was one of those where I felt just eager to have it, but also, what have we done? What have I missed? How have I missed this idea of this rest and of being with each other? There's another angle that I would say as well that I've seen just in Europe in general. When people sit at the table to eat, there's no rush. It's like 3 hours, and the restaurants are set up not to move people the way we do here, which is almost like you're on the clock. It's like, come on. Yep. Like we got to get another paying customer in here. I mean, if somebody's at a table in Paris, they're going to be there for the night. And it's just there's a little bit of like, I like this idea of sitting around, but it's wired into me as a Westerner to, you finish, you're like, okay, well, let's go. And we're just like, we've forgotten how to talk to each other. So yeah, I really love that, Josh.
Good. I really noticed that with Pastor Marlick too, especially with coffee and tea time. Like for us, that's on the go. For them, that's what you do after the meal, to sit down and have more conversation.
Yeah.
So I remember we got coffee at the Italian place in Winona, and we got it at the end of our meal, but then they expected to sit down and we were like trying to take off, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, like, come on, let's hang out some more. Yep. Let's talk.
Yep.
Yeah, the ability to linger and just sit.
Yeah.
So good.
It's a lost skill.
Yeah, for me, the personal thing, and honestly, it's cool that we kind of closed the year on this series titled "Suffering That Saves," because I feel like for me that's been a huge, my growth edge, or just the thing that I've been marinating on a lot is just aspects of suffering. I feel like, there's a process in just, as you're walking with Jesus, you want him to make everything in your life easy. and he lovingly doesn't. And then you start to recognize, like, okay, I'm starting to understand, like, that when he says, like, pick up your cross and follow me, there's, like, everybody's going to experience suffering and difficulty in life. You just, that's just how life is. And there's a lot of big questions that we ask because of that. But it just is the reality. Whatever we think about it, you don't get to choose. It happens to you. But Jesus's invitation is almost to, you choose additional suffering. Like, you choose, and it's chosen suffering is sacrifice. That's what it is. And so, I've been learning to find, and I've been learning to find joy in suffering, and actually finding, like, those places of sacrificial love, which again is just choosing to die to yourself for the sake of somebody else. And that can be little stuff. You give up little things, little moments. You don't take the bait on something, or you do the little job that nobody else wants to do, or, whatever it is. And as you take those steps, you find there's a joy on the other side of that. And so I think he's just been reframing that a little bit for me, because I think for most of my life, I've seen some suffering firstly as something that should be avoided or escaped at all costs. Then kind of growing to learn, like, okay, suffering is part of life, and how do I navigate that with Jesus? But also, like, eventually I just want to be done with it, though. Like, I want to get out of it. And that, there's still a reality to that. But then on the other side, it's like, there are places of sacrifice that I choose. And so in Hebrews, it says that Jesus, because of the joy set before him, he endured the cross. And so just learning to see moments of sacrificial love as opportunities to love Jesus very directly. And I think, previously I probably felt most connected to Jesus, or felt like I was doing something meaningful or loving towards him a lot of times, like in, like, worship environments. Obviously I love music and musical worship and that kind of stuff. I love that. That was kind of the main touch point for me, I feel like, way to express my love for Jesus. And I feel that shifting, that now I feel like moments when I'm doing things that are hard, that I don't want to do, for the sake of other people, that's when I feel like I'm really loving Jesus. And so that's been a big change. And I feel that, the change in me is, like, a lot of times in the past, when I do something hard, it's kind of like, okay, I got through that. I never want to do that again. Yeah. And now, as I learn how to see that, oh, this is like a way that I can uniquely express love to other people and to Jesus, it makes me want to do it again. And so anyway, that's kind of been the big theme of my 2025, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea that it's a part of discipleship, suffering, and that there are layers to it, and that there's depth to it, and that there are almost a little bit like your I can't think of another illustration, but a video game. Like, you've leveled up, like, or you've earned this thing just because you've gone through this, and kind of you have those scars to show, oh, you've been through some difficult things. And so then it's like the Lord's, in his plan and the way he's shaping us, is able to entrust us with the next level. Not as like, wow, you're so amazing, but just, okay, this is going to be harder. Cause it's interesting that you were talking about the wanting to get through it. And I've had this year more focused time with him, but not in a legalistic way. Like, I found myself very excited about waking up. It's just so wild. This is so not me. But I go to bed thinking, oh, only 6 hours. and I get up and have coffee and sit with the Lord and write. And I'm just like, who is this guy? Like, but it's so weird. It's like but I find myself writing things this week, even had some difficult things I was processing and asking, like, this is really difficult. I give this to you. I want wisdom. Can you help me understand this? What is this? Why does this bother me so much? What is it in my past that you're working on? But it almost feels it's just like, oh, this is an adventure. I know he's doing something because the difficult things are happening, rather than I know he's doing something because the positive worship experience, kind of what you're saying, is happening. So I would say mine as well. It's very specific around him moving me out of the safety of giving a message and the safety of our staff and what we do in the building, to be with people that are hurting, and I don't know how to fix them, and learning how to sit with them. And my phrase that I used a couple of weeks ago of being able to serve in the warming center has been wonderfully uncomfortable. Just so I don't know how to do this. But it's, I don't know, like you see people, and what God's helped me to do is to get past, or at least recognize it enough, not get past it. It's almost like it stays there the whole time, how you feel uncomfortable. But then I start to feel what he feels for that person, and I start to see their struggle. Daniel, we watched the Knives Out movie last night. Holy cow. Josh, have you seen it?
No, not yet.
Oh,
is
my
there a
goodness.
first one?
There's 3.
Okay,
but this one is by far like the most incredible. It's on, you guys have Netflix?
Yep.
Okay. So it's Netflix. It's Wake Up Dead Man. Is that what it's?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Daniel, you shared the other day just of how it's one of the most accurate representations of what it means to be a pastor or a priest. You actually have you got a real one. You got a live one that's wanting to live like Jesus, and of course all the things that are portrayed in there that are so extreme, and the stuff that's in, man. But I found myself just so leaning in to, this is so uncomfortable and it's so awesome too. But one of the things I loved about that priest is his genuine care and patience with people, especially when it was inconvenient. And remember the one scene where he's praying with that lady forever on the phone?
Yeah.
Oh man, everything in me was like, I know that moment of I don't want to have to do this. There's this huge important thing going on, and of him just listening to the Lord to respond and to hear her and to, oh man. So that for sure is probably will continue to be the main thing that God's working on me, to choose to do things that are outside of my comfort zone, but that I know reflect his heart. And, and when you're in the middle of it too, as you walk away, you're like, okay, yes, that was still hard, but I'm finding joy. There's, to your verse, the joy set before Jesus. So that to choose that, I've actually, one of the things I've also recently had form in me, it almost feels like a flower that just popped through a sidewalk. That's what it feels like. It's what? How did you get through? And it's made a crack, and it's here comes this beautiful flower popping up. Is the ability to also have people say hard things about me that even aren't true. What I wanted to do, and what I have done in the past, is gather people around me to reinforce that this isn't true, and then try to stop it somehow. Try to get people to stop, and who's going to go talk to them? Who's going to tell them this isn't true or whatever? And so it's one of the things that goes with the job, that people will say things that aren't true. They'll leave based on things that aren't true. Then they'll talk to other people about them. It just kind of goes with it. And so what's weird is I am okay with that. Not 100%, but more than I was. And even have a part of me that's like, you know what? If that's what you need for the Lord to take you to the next place, if it means saying something untrue about me, all right. That's weird. That's so weird. And it's not, like I said, it's not 100%. There's enough of me still left that's like trying to save face. But that feels new. That feels very sidewalk flower like in my heart. All right, here, final question. As you think about Pleasant Valley, and you can make this personal or corporate, what do you want to see happen this next year?
I think there's two things that immediately come to mind. I think one is one passage that's just been messing with me a lot is John chapter 3, which is where we get that really popular John 3:16, for God so loved the world. But the context of that is Jesus is having this kind of like late night incognito meeting with Nicodemus, who's like one of the main teachers of Israel and basically like their Bible expert man. And he just sees stuff in Jesus. So he comes to Jesus like, I'm recognizing I'm not an expert. And they have this conversation about being born again. And it's just been striking to me that it's like, man, the starting place for relationship with Jesus and what he extends to Nicodemus is he's like, dude, you got to start over. Like you've built up this whole thing that like your whole relationship with God is built up on your answers and your intellect and your understanding. And you got to start over. You got to come as an infant. Like that's how you begin to experience the kingdom of God, is by the work of the Spirit taking us to a place of infancy with God. And so I would love to see more of that happen in us and in our church, because there's this thing of like, because I've done a little bit of reading about kind of like developmental stages and stuff. And there's this really important thing that happens for infants in those early developmental stuff. They don't have like, they're not going to have visual memories of this time in their life, but the stuff that's happening for them with them and their parents is so significant because they're learning how to be loved. Like that is literally what they're learning, is like, how do I exist in a secure and a securely attached relationship? What does it look like to be safe and loved? And there are people, so anyway, so that's like where it starts. That's where it starts with us to understand like the grace of God for us is that I'm not bringing anything to the table. Like when my kids were born, they didn't show up and I'm like, okay, here's how you're going to contribute. No, like the expectation was that we were going to pour out a lot. And so again, I think sometimes we know that the starting point for relationship with God is like grace. It's a gift. But one of the things that I say to people often is like, you never grow out, or you never outgrow being God's little child. And even as we gain different levels of responsibility, and certainly we do grow to adulthood in certain ways, and we want to mature in our faith, but you never outgrow being that starting place of just being loved and securely attached to God, not because I'm doing anything or because I can even communicate my needs, or because all I know how to do is to cry and fill my diaper. And like, that's all I know. That's all I know how to do. And all my job as an infant is just to receive. That is my job. That is so that's the starting place. So see more of that in our church, that we are learning how to let God love us, and not to qualify it, not to overcomplicate it. And then out of that, engaging with people with that kind of the truth of the gospel, because what that means is that the gospel is so available and accessible to everybody, because they don't have to come with XYZ thing in place in their life first. It's like, no, you got to come and be born again. Like, take everything, all the junk, everything where you are, and just come and be filled by the Spirit and let him make you alive and become God's little infant. And I think it just changes then how we interact with the people around us. And we stop putting so many like, buts on relationships. And we just let people like, hey, of course you're there. Of course you're there. Why don't you just come and be God's little beloved child? Like, just step into that. And so again, I know it's maybe in a certain way, I know I'm maybe oversimplifying it a little bit. I know there's a lot of complicated, things that we have to navigate in relationships and all this stuff. But on the flip side, I think sometimes we do make it more complicated.
We complicate it. Yeah.
And so, so that's one of my big prayers, both for myself and for our church family, is just that we would grow in really being so confident in God's love for people. And that starts with knowing how to receive it first ourselves. And I think we don't feel securely attached to God. So then we don't know how to display that or to give that away.
Yeah. Did you have any, the stage theory stuff? Like, where are you reading about that?
I don't know. Some of it was just like articles, because and honestly, like, part of it was like years ago when I was just having little babies, and like, it's hard. And I was trying to find like, okay, what is supposed to be happening right now? Like, what am I supposed to be doing as a parent? And so there's a few different resources out there. There's a resource that was put out called "It's Just a Phase." And I can't remember what the organization is that put that out, but that was kind of my first introduction to like all these different phases of development that are happening throughout childhood. And it kind of has just resources for kids of every age all the way up to 18. And like, what are the different needs they have, questions they're asking. And so those very young years, as Seth, my second, he was a terrible sleeper. So I would be up late at night, middle of the night with him all the time. And it helped me a lot to know, like, okay, he's not going to remember this. This isn't going to be a vivid memory to him. But what this is reinforcing for him, your dad loves you and your dad can be with you. Your dad will be with you when you're not feeling good or when you're upset. Like, your dad is with you. And so that changed it for me. It's like, felt like, okay, I'm doing something. Not that this is just like, this is just wasted, but it was like the beginnings of me understanding, okay, this is doing something. So
that's cool.
There's another resource. I feel like I have the books right here somewhere. They're somewhere about they were resources from that Cindy had turned me on to from Life Model. And it kind of talks about stages of maturity, kind of like child, adult, and then like I forget what they call that. I can't remember. I don't know.
Yeah. So, the reason I ask too is because it's very interesting to me, and one of my early morning deep dives with my study in my research room, my AI research room, my writers, my theologians and scholars. No, it's good if you know how to use it well. It's really helpful. But I just started making a lot of connections with stage theory and discipleship. And I wanted to know the overlaps and because I think there are so many things for us to learn that we do miss. And if I had to critique discipleship in general of my experience of it in the church, and probably where it's hard to figure out how to find depth, it's, I think, because maybe we need to recognize more of those stages and how to move to the next one and what's actually happening there. So anyway, just more curious. So Josh, what about you?
Yeah. I think for me, it's probably the same message I've been saying. And that's just for both me and the church as a whole, just learning to continue to, go into our Egypt, to love our neighbor, to care for the orphan and the widow, to do everything that Jesus says the basic commandments, love one another as I have loved you.
Yeah.
Just learning to do that and to see our neighbors not for our differences, but for our similarities.
Mm-hmm.
Because myself included, it's really easy just to have a list of things and why I need to distance myself from XYZ person, but instead of just start looking for reasons and why maybe I should engage
Mm-hmm.
with someone and have patience for their differences.
Yeah. I love that. Mine's very similar, and kind of I'll use an illustration that, like, imagine kind of you're in some sort of war zone, or like where society has broken down to a point where we're not doing our normal thing anymore. Like grocery stores aren't open. And we're a little more like just trying to help each other, rely on each other. And so imagine, you're in some sort of situation, almost like let's say you're in like an I've even seen movies like this, but almost like a foxhole situation. And you're the Christian, and the other side is somebody who's not, a different religion. And you both have needs for, to be safe, to sleep, to have food, to care about each other's families, where they are, to talk about those things. And so what I think we've done, I know I have done, is we like make these imaginary time barriers about when people have to respond. And we've taken the verses in the New Testament that have to do with things about being the church, or possibly church discipline, or kind of being with unbelievers, being with believers who are struggling, all those things. And we've kind of morphed them into this really hardcore, if you don't agree with me, or if you don't make a decision right now, I just presented all the facts of the gospel. You have everything you need. If you don't decide right now to turn, then I'm not going to do anything for you. Mm-hmm. And so then when you imagine just, okay, but if it's a trauma situation and you're in a foxhole or something like that, it's like, well, can I have some water? Are you going to say yes to what I said? Then no. That's kind of how we've functioned as the church. Yep. Almost like, are you ready to change? Then I'm not ready to talk to you. And so it's like these demands that we've created that are not the way Jesus interacted with people. And so it's not at all to change or to remove the things that Jesus says. Kind of what I said Sunday, you can love people and not be where you are abandoning the exclusivity of Jesus. You can do that. And so my desire personally, and you guys know, we always say where we go, they will follow. So that's all I'm thinking is me, is I want to learn how to talk to people that may never, ever say in my presence that they agree with what I think about the Bible or certain topics or doctrinal issues. And I want to learn to be with them in the way Jesus would be with them, and have conversations that are like that. And I want to be the kind of person that somebody would say, I want to be with that guy. I want to hang around with him. There's something that is I experience, and they wouldn't put these words to it, but I want the reality to be that they're experiencing the love of God by being around me. Yep. And that when I talk to them, it's as if I have the very words of God, to use Peter's phrase. I'm speaking as one who speaks the very voice of God and the very words of God. And so that is for sure my number one growth edge, and what I'm in pursuit of. It's like I have to know how to do this well. And I think I'm learning, but because what I see is I don't know, not kind of in a scientific or mathematical type thing that's like, well, this formula didn't work and this one didn't work, and so we have to try something else. But I am critiquing the overall expression of evangelism and ministry that I've been a part of, that I've promoted, that I've seen in the church in the West, in the world. And I just look at it and I'm like, no. No, yes, even if all the facts are there, there's something that I need there's something I need from Jesus that's going to help us. It's going to help me. It's going to help us. And so, yeah, that's mine. Any other closing thoughts? Whatever, funnies,
Whatever.
highs, lows, buffaloes.
No, I am excited for this next year. I'm excited to see what the Lord has for us. I think, I say this a lot, but it's fun to be part of this church family. And, it's like, it's messy, warts and all, like you say, Chad. It's like, if we haven't disappointed you yet, we surely
Give
will.
us time. Yep.
But ultimately, it feels like discipleship together. We're and I just I love the dynamic of, we're not supposed to it's not just supposed to be a me and Jesus kind of thing, but that actually we grow deeper roots together, and than we could by ourselves. And in Ephesians chapter 4, it talks about, how the body of Christ, it like we all work together to display the fullness of Jesus, that no one person gets it 100% right. And that it takes all of us together with all of our differences and, priorities and whatever, all these different things, like all of our different thoughts. And it's that tension. It's the kind of like the unescapable conflict of relationships that actually cause us to grow and to display Jesus more accurately. And so I just see him doing that. And as I look back on this year and years previous, I see him doing that. It feels like he's just continuing to put the puzzle pieces in place for us to make a more full picture of who Jesus is in our church family here. And so it's just a fun process. And it's fun because, not because it's like we've arrived, but it's fun because like in the journey of that and in the process of that, like Jesus just pours out so much grace on us, and and we get to celebrate a lot of cool stuff together. We get to grieve together, and cry together, but we get to see Jesus more and more fully. I think that's really exciting. So I'm excited for this next year and how he's going to keep doing that. I think there's some ways that we might sense that he's moving, some places where we can already sense that he's leading us and taking us. But then there's also the mystery of like, and stuff we don't even know about, and things that we don't even know to ask for, that he already has planned and prepared for us. So that really excites me.
Heck yeah. Josh, anything?
Nope. 2026.
You're good.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey everybody, thanks for joining us for Most Important Person in the Room. If you're out of town and with family somewhere for the Christmas holidays, we hope you're so blessed. And for the people that are with us, we'll see you Christmas Eve. The rest, 2026 is coming. We have some cool, excited about the new year. I want to do some stuff here in the podcast. For example, like watching certain clips from a movie like the new Knives Out, and kind of live reaction and talking about some of those things, because I think some of the art that's out there is just so speaks to me, and I think it can help us grow. But anyway, peace out. Later.